Uh, TRISTIA book, the second book. The poet's plea. What have I to do with you, ye books, ill-starred object of my toil I ruined, enriched through my own talent? Why do I seek once again the muses so recently condemned, the causes of my guilt? Or is one well-earned penalty not enough? Verse gave men and women a desire to know me, but was no good omen for me. Verse caused Caesar to brand me and my ways by commanding they that my art be forthwith taken away. Take away from me my pursuit, and you will take away from my life also the charges against it. I lay the charge of guilt against my verse. This is the reward I have received for my work and my wakeful toil. A penalty has been found for my talent. Very wise I should justly hate the learned sisters. The date is fatal to their own votary. But as it is, such madness accompanies my disease. I am once more bending my unfortunate steps to those crags, just as the vanquished gladiator seeks again the arena, or the battered ship returns to the surging sea. Perchance, as once for him who ruled the Teuranthian kingdom, the same object will both wound and cure me, and Muse, who aroused the wrath, will also soften it. Song often prevails on the mighty gods. Caesar himself bade the mothers and daughters of Ausonia chant a hymn to wreath-bearing Ops. He commanded a hymn to Phoebus also when he celebrated those games, which each age views but once. Such precedents now form the basis of my prayer, O merciful Caesar, that my poetic gift may assuage thy wrath. Just indeed it is. I will not deny that I have deserved it, for shame has not so utterly fled my lips. But had I not sinned, while leniency, were it possible, for thee to display, my fate has given thee the means of mercy. Even every human error Jupiter should hurl his thunderbolts, he would in a brief space be weaponless. But as it is, when the roll of his thunder has died away, frightening the world with its roar, he scatters the rain clouds and clears the air. Just it is, then, to call him the father and ruler of the gods. Just it is that in the spacious universe there is naught mightier than Jove. Do thou also, seeing thou art called ruler and father of our native land, follow the way of the god who has the same title, and that thou dost. No one has ever been able to hold the reins of his power with more restraint. Thou hast often granted indulgence to a conquered foe, which he would not have granted to thee had been victor. Men even who had been enhanced in the riches and in honors have I seen direct their arms against thee, and the day that ended the battle ended for thee also the wrath of battle. Both sides together made their gifts to the temples, and as thy soldiery rejoice, they have vanquished the enemy, so the enemy has reason to rejoice at his defeat. My cause is a better one, for none assert that I have followed arms opposed to thee, or hostile power, by sea, by earth, by the third power. I swear by thee, a present and manifest deity, that this soul of mine favored thee, mightiest of men, and that wherein alone I could, in heart I have been thine. I pray that thou mightest make thy way late to the stars of heaven, and I was an humble member of the throng that uttered the same prayer. Loyal incense I offered in thy behalf, and with all the rest I too aided the prayers of the state with my own. Why should I say that my books, even those which are my accusers, in 1,000 passages hold thy name? Examine the greater work, which is still kept unfinished, the book of figures transformed in ways unbelievable. Thou wilt find praises of thy name there. Thou wilt find many pledges of my loyalty. Thy glory is not made mightier by song, nor has it room wherein to grow so as to be made mightier. Jupiter has more than enough of glory, yet is he pleased to have his deeds related and himself become the theme of song. And when the battles of his war with the giants are told, we may believe that he finds pleasure in his praises. Thou art praised by others in a soft style that befits thee. They sing thy praise with richer gifts than mine. But though a god be won by the outpoured blood of 100 bulls, yet is he also won by the humblest offering of incense. Alas, harsh was he and more cruel enemy to me than all the rest, who read to thee my playful verse, preventing any verse that honors thee in my books from being read with a fairer judgment. But when thou wert angry, who could have been friendly to me? Scarce could I at that time refrain from being an enemy to myself. When once battered house has begun to settle, the whole weight leans upon the yielding parts. When fate causes the first rift, the whole gapes apart and crashes to destruction, dragged by its own weight. So my verse has won me men's dislike. The crowd, as was right, have only guided themselves by the expression of thy face. And yet I remember thou wert wont to approve my life and my ways when I passed before thee, with the steed thou hadst grant me. If that avails me not, if no renown for what is honorable is granted me, at least I had suffered no impeachment, nor was fate of those on trial wrongfully entrusted to me suits to be examined by the centumvirs. Private cases also I brought to settlement, acting without criticism as referee. And even the defeated side admitted my good faith. Wretch to me, were it not for the injury caused me by recent events, I might be secure through more than one judgment of thine. These last events ruin me. One blast sends to the bottom of the sea the craft that has so many times been safe. 'Tis no small part of the flood that has wrought me harm, but all the billows of ocean have fallen upon my head. Why did I see anything? Why did I make my eyes guilty? Why was I so thoughtless as to harbor the knowledge of a fault? Unwitting was Actaeon when he beheld Diana unclothed. None the less he became the prey of his own hounds. Clearly, among the gods, even ill fortune must be atoned for, nor is mischance an excuse when a deity is wronged. On that day, when my ruinous mistake ravished my house, humbled by Stanleys, was destroyed, humble indeed, but in our ancestors' time, 'tis said, they have been illustrious and inferior in fame to none, though noted neither for wealth nor poverty, so that from it spring knights conspicuous for neither. But even if our house be small in wealth and in origin, at least my genius does not suffer it to be obscure. This I may have employed into youthful exuberance, yet my name is great throughout the world. A throng of the cultured are well acquainted with Azo and venture to count him with those whom they do not despise. Fallen then is my house, though pleasing to the muses, beneath one charge, albeit no small one, yet so fallen that it can rise again, if only time shall mellow the wrath of injured Caesar, whose leniency in the penalty that has befallen, in such that the penalty is milder than I feared. Life was granted me. Thy wrath halted ere it achieved my death. O sire, with what restraint hast thou used thy power? Then too there is added, for thou takest it not away, my inherited wealth, as if life were too small a gift. Thou didst not condemn my deeds through a decree of the Senate, nor was my exile ordered by a special court, with words of stern invective worthy of a prince. Thou didst that thyself, as is fitting, avenge thine own injury, and thy command, though severe and threatening, was yet mild in naming my punishment, for it calls me relegatus, not exile. and thou dost use therein language especially adapted to my fate. No punishment indeed is heavier to one in command of his senses than the displeasure of so a mighty man as thou. Yet this common for a deity to be appeased at times, this common for clouds to scatter and the bright daylight to return. I have seen an elm laden with the tendrils of a vine even after it had been blasted by the thunderbolt of angry Jove. Thou dost thyself forbid me to hope. I shall hope constantly. This one thing can be done in spite of thy command. Strong hope comes upon me when I regard thee, most merciful of princes, but hope fails me when I regard my own deeds. As in the winds that buffet the air, there is no steady, no constant madness, but now they decrease or are lulled to silence, so that one would suppose they had laid aside their power. In this wise my fears depart, return, or change, giving me or denying me hope of appeasing thee. Wherefore, by the gods above, who give and will give thee long years, if only they love the Roman race by our native land, which is safe and secure under thy fatherly care, of which I, as one among the people, was by recently a part, so I pray, may there be duly paid thee by grateful city that debt of love which thy constant deeds and spirit deserve. So in union with thee may Livia fill out her years, she whom no husband but thou deserved, but for thou whose existence an unwedded life would befit thee, and there were none other whom thou couldst espouse. So together with thy safety may thy son too be safe, and one day rule this empire, an old man with one still older. And may thy grandsons, stars of the youth, still hold their course, as now they do through thy deeds and those of their own sire. So may victory, always at home in thy camp, now also present herself, seeking the standard so well known to her, hovering with familiar wings about the Ozonian leader and placing the laurel wreath upon the shining hair of him through whom thou dost wage wars, in whose person thou art now doing battle, to whom thou dost grant thy lofty auspices and thy gods, and thus art half present, keeping watch over the city, and half far away, conducting savage wars. So many he returned to thee after conquering the foe, and be seen in radiance high on the garlanded car. Oh, spare me, I pray, and hide away thy thunderbolt, cruel weapon, alas, but too well known to wretch to me. Spare me, Father of our country, do not, forgetful of this name, take from me the hope that sometime I may appease thee. I pray not for return, even though we may believe that more than the prayer has oft been granted by the mighty gods. Grant me a milder and a nearer place of exile, and a large part of my punishment will be lightened. I am now enduring the extreme, thrust forth into the midst of enemies. No exile is farther from his native land. I alone have been sent to the mouths of the seven-streamed Hister. I am crushed beneath the Parhassian virgin's icy pole. The Syzygies, the Kochi, the hordes of Tereti, and the Jete are scarce fended off by the interposition of the Danube's waters. Though others have been exiled for whiter cause, a more remote land has been assigned to no one. Nothing is farther away than this land, except only the cold and the enemy and the sea whose waters congeal with the frost. Here is the end of the Rome's domain on the ill-owned Euxine shore, hard by the Basterne and Sauromate holds us away. This land comes last of all beneath Ausonian law, clinging with difficulty to the very edge of thy empire. And so I offer a suppliant spare, that thou wilt banish me to safe abode, that together with my fatherland peace also be not taken from me, that I may not fear the tribes which the Hister holds in security in check, that I, thy subject, be not within an enemy's power to capture. Right forbids that anyone of Latin blood should suffer barbarian bondage while Caesars live. Though two crimes, a poem and a blunder, have brought me ruin, of my fault in the one I must keep silent, for my wrath is not such that I may reopen thy wounds, O Caesar. 'Tis more than enough that thou shouldst have been pained once. The other remains, the charge that by an obscene poem I have taught fault adultery. For adultery, 'tis possible then somehow for divine minds to be deceived, for many things to be beneath thy notice, as Jove, who watches at once over the gods and the lofty heaven, has not leisure to give heed to small things. So whilst thou dost gaze about upon the world that depends upon thee, things of this moment escape thy care. Shouldst thou, forsooth, the prince of the world, abandon thy post and read songs of mine set to unequal measure, that weight of the Roman names does not lay so light a burden upon thy shoulders, that thou canst direct thy divine attention to silly trifles. Examining with thine own eye the product of my leisure hours, now Pannonia, now the Illyrian shore must be subdued by thee, now the wars in Rhaetia or Thracia bring thee anxiety, now the Armenian seeks peace, now the Parthian horseman extends to thee with timorous hand his bow, and the standards once he seized. Now through thy son Germany feels thy youthful vigor, and Caesar's wars for a mighty Caesar. In fine, though the body of the empire is vaster than has ever existed, no part is weak. The city also wearies thee, and the guardianship of thy laws and of the morals who thou dost desire to be like thine own, nor to thy lot foes that repose thou bestowest upon the nations, for thou art waging many wars that allow thee no rest. Can I wonder then that under this weight of great affairs thou hast ever unrolled the volume of my jests? Yet if, as I could wish, thou hadst chanced to have the leisure, thou wouldst have read no crimes in my art. That poem, I admit, has no serious mine. It is not worthy to be read by so great a prince, but not for that reason it is opposed to the commandments of the law, nor does it offer teaching to the daughters of Rome, and that thou mayst not doubt for whom I write, one of the 3 books contains 3-4 verses. Far from me, ye narrow fillets, badge of modesty, and thou long ruffle covering cuff the feet, I shall sing of naught but what is lawful, of loves which men allow. There shall be in my song no sin. Have I not strictly excluded from this art all women whom the assumption of the robe and fillet of wedlock protect? But thou mayst say the matron can use arts intended for others, and drew therefrom instruction, though she be not herself the pupil. Let the matron read nothing then, for from every song she can gain wisdom for sin. From whatever she touches, be she inclined to wrongdoing, she will equip her character for vice. Let her take up the annals, naught is ruder than they. She will surely read by whom Elia became a mother, so soon as she takes up the Enneadum Genetrix. She will ask by whom fostering Venus became the mother of the Aeneid. It I will show later, if only I may present it in order that it is possible for the soul to be injured by every kind of poem, yet not on that account shall every book be guilty. Nothing is useful which cannot at the same time be injurious. What more useful than fire? Yet whoever is making ready to burn a house arms his criminal hands with fire. Medicine sometimes removes, sometimes bestows safety, showing what plant is helpful, what harmful. Both the brigand and the cautious wayfarer gird on a sword, but the one carries it for treacherous attack, the other for his own defense. Eloquence is learned for the conduct of just causes, yet it protects the guilty and crushes the innocent. So then with verse, if it be read with upright mind, it will be established that it can injure nobody, even though it be mine. But there are certain women whom I deprave. Whoever believes this is mistaken and attributes too much to my works. Even should I admit this charge, the games also furnish the seeds of wrongdoing. Order the abolition of all the theaters. A pretext for sin has often been found by many at the time when the hard earth is covered with the sand of Mars. Abolish the circus. The license of the circus is not safe. For here a girl may sit close to a strange man, seeing certain women strolling them, intent on meeting a lover there. Why does any portico stand open? What place more dignified than the temples? But these too should be avoided by any woman whose nature inclines to fault. When she stands in Jupiter's temple it will occur to her how many that the god has caused to be mothers. As she worships in the neighboring temple of Juno, the thought will come upon her that many rivals have caused this goddess wrath. When she has looked on Pallas Athena, she will ask how why the Virgin brought up Erichtonius, the child of sin. If she enters the temple of mighty Mars, thine own gift, Venus stands close to the avenger in the guise of a man before the door. If she sit in Isis' fane, she will ask why she was driven by Saturnia over the Ionian Sea and the Bosphorus. Anchises will remind her Venus, the Latmian hero of Luna, Iasion of Ceres. All things can corrupt perverted minds, yet although those things stand harmless in their proper places. Far from the art written for courtesans alone, its first page warns the hands of upright women. Any woman who breaks away to a place forbidden by a priest forthwith removes from him the sin and becomes herself guilty. Nevertheless, it is no crime to read tender verse. The chaste may read much that they should not do. Often matrons of serious brow behold women nude, ready for every kind of lust. The eyes of Vestals behold the bodies of courtesans, nor has that been the cause of punishment to their owner. Yet why is my muse so wanton? Why does my book advise anybody to love? There is naught for me but confession of my error and my obvious fault. I repent of my talent, of my test and my tasters. Why rather did I not harass once again my song, Troy, which fell before the Argive arms? Why was I silent of Thebes and the mutual wounds of the brothers and the 7 gates, each under command of its own leader? Warlike Rome did not refuse me a subject, and 'tis a pious task to tell the story of one's native land. In fine, since thou hast filled the world with the great deeds, Caesar, some one of those many should have been the theme of my song, and the glittering rays of the sun attract the eye, so thy exploits would have drawn forth my powers. Undeservedly am I blamed, poor is the field I plough, that was a theme mighty and fruitful. A skiff ought not to trust itself to the sea just because it ventures to disport itself in a little pool. Perhaps even this I may doubt. I am well enough suited to the lighter verse, capable of humble measures, but if thou shouldst bid me sing of the giants conquered by Jove's lightning, the burden will weaken me in the attempt. Only a rich mind can tell the tale of Caesar's mighty deeds, if the theme is not to surpass the work. Even so I made the venture, but methought I impaired the theme, and an impious thing wrought injury to thy might. I returned once more to my light task, the songs of youth, stimulating my breast with fictitious love. Would that I had not! But my fate drew me on to be clever to my own hurt. Alas, that I ever acquired learning! Why did my parents teach me? Why did any letter ever beguile my eyes? This wantonness has caused thee to hate me on account of the arts, which thou didst think disturbed unions that all were forbidden to attack. But no brides have learned deceptions through my teaching. Nobody can teach that of which he knows too little. I have composed songs of pleasure and love, but in such fashion that no scandal has ever touched my name. No husband exists even amid the common people who doubts his fatherhood through sin of mine. I assure you, my character differs from my verse. My life is moral, my muse is gay, and most of my work, unreal and fictitious, has allowed itself more license than its author has had. A book is not an evidence of one's soul, but an honorable impulse that presents very many things suited to charm the ear. Else would Artius be cruel, Terence a reveler, or those would be quarrelsome who sing of fierce war. Moreover, not I alone have written tales of tender love, but for writing of love I alone have been punished. What but the union of love and lavish wine was the teaching of the lyric muse of the aged teen bard? What did lesbian Sappho teach the girls if not love? Yet Sappho was secure. The teen also was secure. I did not enjoy the sign of Battus, that thou didst often in verse confess to the reader thy wanton pleasures. No play of charming Menander is free from love, yet he is wont to be read by boys and girls. The very Iliad, what is it but an adulteress about whom her lover and her husband fought? What occurs in it before the flaming passion for Briseis and the feud between the chiefs due to the seizure of the girl? What is the Odyssey except the story of one woman wooed in her husband's absence for love's sake by many suitors? Who but the Maeonian tells of Venus and Mars caught in bonds of unseemly love, on whose evidence, by that of greater Homer, should we know of two goddesses on fire with passion for a guest? Every kind of writing is surpassed in seriousness by tragedy, but this also constantly deals with the theme of love. Is there aught in the Hippolytus except the blind passion of a stepmother? Canace's fame is due to her lover, her brother. Again, did not the ivory sign of Tantalus, while Cupid drove the car, bear away the Pisan maiden with his Phrygian horses? The mother who stained her sword with the blood of her children was roused to the deed by the anger of slighted love. Love suddenly transformed into birds the king with his paramour, and that mother who still mourns her son Itys. If her accursed brother had not loved Aerope, we should not read about the horses of the sun turning aside. Wicked Scylla would never have touched the tragic buskin had not love caused her to sever her father's lock. You who cause her who read of Electra and crazed Orestes are reading of the guilt of Aegisthus and Tyndareus' daughter. Why should I tell of the dread conqueror, of the chimera who of deceitful hostess brought near to death? Why speak of Hermione? Why of the maiden daughter of Ascanius and of the priestess of Phoebus, beloved by the Mycenaean leader, why of Danae and of Danae's daughter-in-law, of the mother of Leus of Haemon, and of her for whom 2 knights combined? Why speaks of Peleus, son-in-law of Theseus, and of him who first of the Pelasgians touched the soil of Ilium? To these add Iole, and the mother of Pyrrhus, the wife of Hercules, Hylas, and the Ilian boy. Time will fail if I tell all the loves of tragedy, and my book will scarce hold the bare names. There's too a tragedy involving coarse laughter, containing many terms of shamelessness, and the author who depicted Achilles tender with love does not suffer for having weakened by his versus deeds of valor. Aristides connected the vices of Miletus with himself. Yet Aristides was not driven from his own city, neither Eubius, who described the destruction of the mother seed, the composer of a foul tale, nor he who recently wrote the Sybaritica were exiled, nor those who have not concealed their own erotic adventures, and those things exist among the memorials of learned men, and through the gifts of our leaders have become public property open to all. And I need not defend myself with foreign arms only, for Roman books also contain much that is frivolous. Though Ennius lent his lips to the serious strains of war, Ennius mighty in genius, rude in art, though Lucretius sets forth the causes of scorching flame and prophesies the destruction of 3 elements, yet wanton Catullus sang oft of her who was falsely called Lesbia, and not content with her, he noised abroad many others' loves, in which he admitted his own intrigues. Equal in degree and of the same kind was the license of diminutive Calvus, who revealed his own love adventures in various meters. Why allude to the verses of Tychidas or of Memmius, in whom things are named with names devoid of shame? With them Cinna too belongs, and answer more wanton than Cinna, and the light poems of Cornificius and of Cato, and those in whose books she, who was but recently hidden beneath the name of Perilla, is now found called after thy name Metellus. He too, who guided the Argo to the waters of Phasis, who not keep silent about his own adventures in love. Hortensius' verses and those of Servius are not less wanton. Why would hesitate to imitate these mighty names? Caesena translated Aristides, and was not harmed for waving in the tail-coarse jest. It was no reproach to Gallus that he gave fame to Lycoris, but that from too much wine he did not restrain his tongue. Tibullus thinks it hard to believe his lady under oath because she makes the same denials about himself to her lord. He admits too, teaching her how to deceive her guard, saying that he is now in his wretchedness overcome by his own ruse, often on the present of trying the gem and seal of his mistress he recalls that have touched her hand. He tells how ofttimes he spoke by means of his fingers or by nods and drew inarticulate marks upon the tables round, and he teaches that lotions cause to vanish from the body the bruises which are often caused by the mouth's imprint. At last he prays her to Kelly's partner to watch him also, that so her sins may be less frequent. He knows who causes the barking as a man strolls along before the house, why there is so much coughing just before the closed door. He gives teachings of many sorts for such an intrigue, showing bright by what hard ladies can deceive their lords. This did not injure him, for Tibullus is still read with favour. He was famous when thou wert first called prince. Thou wilt find the same teachings in alluring Propertius, yet not the least shame has touched him. I was their successor, for generosity bids me withhold the names of prominent living men. I feared not, I admit, that where so many barks plied, one only would be wrecked, while all the rest were safe. Others have written of the arts of laying at this was no light sin in the eyes of our ancestors. What is the value of the tally? With what throw one can make the highest point, avoiding the ruinous dogs. How the tessera is counted, and when the opponent is challenged, how it is fitting to throw, how to move according to the throws, how the variegated soldier steals to the attack along the straight path when the peace between two enemies is lost, and how he understands warfare by pursuit, and how to recall the men before him and to retreat in safety, not without escort. How a small board is provided with 3 men on a side, and victory lies in keeping one's men abreast, and the other games. I will not now describe them all, which are wont to waste that precious thing, our time. See, another tells in verse of the various forms of bowls and the way they are thrown. This one instructs in the art of swimming, that in the art of the hoop. Others have composed works of tinting the complexion. Another has laid down rules for feast and entertaining. Still another describes the clay from which bowls are fashioned, teaching what jar is adapted to the clear wine. Such playful verses as these are written in smoky December, but nobody has been ruined for composing them. Beguiled by such as these, I wrote verse lacking in seriousness, but a serious penalty has befallen my jest. In fine, though so many have written, I see not one who has been ruined by his own muse. I am the one who has been sought out. What if I had written full jesting mimes, which always contain the scene of forbidden love, in which constantly a well-dressed adulterer appears, and the artful wife woos her stupid husband? These are viewed by the marriageable maiden, the wife, the husband, and the child. Even the senatus in large part is present, nor is it enough that the ear is outraged with impure words. The eyes grow accustomed to many shameful sights, and when the lover has deceived the husband by some novel trick, there is applause, and he is presented amid great favour with a poem. because the stage is not moral, it is not profitable to the poet, and these great immoralities are bought at no small price by the praetor. Run over the expenses of thine own games, Augustus, and thou wilt read of many things of this sort that cost thee dear. Thou hast thyself viewed and oft presented to the view of others, so benign is thy majesty everywhere, and with thine eyes by which the whole world profits, thou hast gazed undisturbed at these adulteries of the stage. If this right compose mimes that copy vice, to my themes a smaller penalty is due. Can it be that this type of writing is rendered safe by the stage to which it belongs? That the license of the mimes has been granted by the theatre? My poems too have often been presented to the people with dancing. Often they have been beguiled thine own eyes. Surely in our causes, even as figures of old heroes shine, painted by an artist's hand, so in some place a small tablet depicts the varying unions and forms of love. There sits not only the Telamonian, with features confessing wrath, and the barbarian mother with crime in her eyes, but Venus as well, wringing her damp hair with her hands and seeming barely covered by her maternal waves. Some sing of the roar of war and its bloody weapons, some of the deeds of thy race, and some of thine own. As for me, grudging nature has confined me with a narrow space, granting me but meagre powers, and yet a blessed author of thy Aeneid brought his arms and the men to a Tyrian couch, and no part of the whole work is more read than that union of illicit love. The same man had written as a youth playful verse of the passion of Phyllis and tender Amaryllis, all in pastoral strains. Long ago I too sinned in that style of composition. Thus a fault not new is suffering a new penalty, and I had published verse when thou wert censuring our sins, and I passed to thee so many times a night uncriticized. Thus the writings which in my youth thoughtless I supposed would harm me not, have harmed me now that I am old. Late and overfull is the vengeance for that early book. Distant is the penalty from the time of the sin. Yet think not all my work trivial. Often have I set grand sails upon my bark. 6 of the Fasti I have written in 6 books, each ending with its own months. This work did I recently compose, Caesar, under thy name, dedicated to thee, but my fate has broken it off, and I wrote a poem of kings for the tragic buskin, having the style which the serious buskin demands. I sang also, though my attempt to lack the final touch of bodies changed into new forms. Would that thou mightest recall thy temper a while from wrath, and bid a few lines of this be read to thee when thou art at leisure, the few lines in which, after beginning with the earliest origin of the world, I have brought the work to thy time, Caesar. Thou wilt see how much heart thou hast thyself given me, with what warmth I sing of thee and thine. I have never injured anybody with a mordant poem. My verse contains charges against nobody. Ingenious I have charmed with steeped in gall. Not a letter of mine is dipped in poisoned jest. Amid all the myriads of our people, many as are my writings, I shall be the only one whom my own Calliope has injured. No citizen then, I feel sure, rejoices in my vows, but many grieve, nor can I believe that anyone has mocked my fall, even indulgence has been granted to my open heart. May this, I pray, and other things have power to bend thy will, O Father, O Protector, and salvation of thy native land. Not that I may return to Ausonia, unless perchance some day thou shalt be overborne by the length of my punishment. I only beg a safer, a more peaceful place of exile, slight though the change be, that the punishment may match my wrongdoing. His precor, atque alis possint tua numina flecti, O Pater, O Patrie cura salusque Tue, non ut in Ausoniam redeam nisi forsitan ollim, cum longo pene tempore victus eris, dutius exilium Pauloque, quetius oro, et ut par delicto sit mea pena suo.